If I was more technologically savvy, I would have opened up with the Beatles song, um, All You Need Is Love. Love, love, love. All you need is love. And then I would have transitioned into the Doobie Brothers. Where would you be right now without love? Where would you be? Then to Burt Bacharach's hit from the 60s, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love. I mean, if I'm trying to choose a little playlist of songs about love is easy. I mean, you got a gazillion songs to choose from just in my little lifetime of listening to pop music. Why is that? Well, it's because I don't think there's been another subject for songs to be written about more than love. It's for those of us in America, love is the one outstanding emotion, the most compelling of emotions. And it is. I don't dispute that at all. Love is perhaps the strongest of emotions. And I think part of the difficulties in our culture derive from the fact that we have relegated love only as an emotion. It is. There are emotions and strong ones associated with love, but it is more than emotion. So why am I going into all this philosophical, what would have been a very witty and creative introduction? Because we're ready to land the plane on this list of characteristics, one built upon the other, of a godly life that Peter offers in 2 Peter chapter 1, where, well, it begins in verse 5. For this very reason, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, and to self-control perseverance, and to perseverance godliness, and to godliness mutual affection. Now, we've talked about all of those things. Boy, have I ever. Now we're ready for this last couplet. And to mutual affection, love. I find it very interesting that there's this declension between mutual affection and love. I mean, aren't they kind of the same thing? Well, yeah, kind of. But here's why there's this distinction. It has to do with the Greek language in which, this letter was written. The Greek word for mutual affection, or what the King James Version of the Bible translates as brotherly kindness, is phileo. C.S. Lewis wrote a terrific book that if you're ready to put your thinking cap on and pull your intellectual pants up a little bit, it is well worth a read. The title is The Four Loves, and in it he describes the four Greek words used for love. And let me see if I can remember them. The first one is phileo. We get our the name of the city, Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. Phileo is brotherly love. Then there's storge, friendship love. Then there's eros, this more sexually oriented, attractional love. And then there is a word that's used here for love, the word that is used for love that only is found in the New Testament, agape. So let's take a minute and let's think about agape. Agape is the word that is used in reference to God's love, the love of God. There are several marking characteristics for agape. And if you know this, bear with me. So let's just review. First thing I think of about agape love is it is unconditional. It is without condition. We do not do anything to get God's agape love. He loves us unconditionally. Don't mistake being loved by God and our behaviors being approved by Him. And here's the second thing. It's unwise to think of this agape love as the equal and the same thing as God's blessing. No, it's not. See, God can love me unconditionally, but I can do things, I can behave in certain ways, I can orient my life in a way so that I am outside the what am I trying to say? It's not like I'm outside His reach. I'm not, but I'm outside His blessing. So His love is unconditional. We struggle with this mightily. I have 3 daughters. Man, I love them. Well, this is, to me, I'm kind of sloppily sentimental about it. I've experienced love at first sight 5 times. The first time I don't remember, but I'm sure it happened, was when I first saw my mom. Second time was with my wife, Debbie. And then the third, fourth, and fifth times when I saw our 3 daughters for the very first time. I was smitten. I loved them. I love them in ways I don't love anyone else, and probably to an extent that I don't love anyone else. And yet, as much as I love them, I don't think I can say I love them unconditionally. You know, there are times when our love has been, I don't know the right word to use, interrupted or hindered because of certain things I have done or they have done. So in that sense, it is conditional. And frankly, I don't like that about myself, but I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I struggle with that. You probably don't, but I do. I honestly, on a human level, I could be wrong about this, but my hypothesis is that on a human level, unconditional love is virtually impossible. We don't have the capacity for unconditional love. What we can grow into is a greater likeness to God so that the conditions for our love become less and less, fewer and fewer, so that we become less conditional in our love over time because of God's work in our lives, because of His unconditional love. So unconditional love is the first characteristic I see for agape love. A second characteristic is its altruism. This agape love is all about the other. This is not a selfish love. It is impossible. I think it is impossible for God to be selfish. It is possible for Him to be demanding, because He is. It is possible that we would hinder His work in our lives when we don't conform to His design. Yeah, but that doesn't change His love for us. I mean, that's the unconditional nature of His love. It is altruistic. His love is other-directed, not self-directed. That you could unpack layer after layer on agape love, but if you can try to sort of capture those two thoughts, it sets this agape love in a whole different category from any of the strongest, most compelling of human loves. Peter writes, to your brotherly kindness, to your mutual affection, add love in the agape sense. My dear friend, B.A. Austin, offered the finest definition of love I have ever heard. And lot of things don't stick with me once I've heard them, even profound things, but this has stuck. He said, love, real love, is doing for the other person what they really need. I know this is ground I've plowed before, and if you're a regular subscriber to Soul Care with Stevie Boy, you've already heard this. It is so worth going back over, though. If love is doing for the other person what they really need, then we need to think deeply and carefully about what does that mean? What is that phrase about? Love is doing. Love, yes, love is a noun. Yes, love is emotional, but is not simply or primarily an emotion. Love is action. If there is no action, then I think we suspect the presence of love. I see this all the time working with conflicted couples. Very often, when conflicted couples come to me for counseling, one is more interested in getting the relationship fixed than the other is. There's a lot of reasons for that. But the one who is more interested is already making more effort toward the restoration of the relationship and doing what they think are actions of love. The other is, they're a little bit Teflon-ish toward these loving behaviors or initiations. And the one who is trying to show love is discouraged. I very often have that spouse say, I'm the only one doing any work. I'm the only one making any effort here. I don't get it. Okay. Love does. Bob Goff wrote a terrific book by that title, Love Does. If you're looking for some inspiration from a very witty and thoughtful Christian, then I suggest you get the book Love Does and just read it as part of your personal enrichment plan. Anyway, love does. And when it doesn't seem to me like love is doing, it feels to me like love is absent. Just the way it is. Love does. For the other person, right? This is an other-directed enterprise. And yes, there is such a thing as self-love. We're going to come back around to that, but we're going to start with this other-directed love because it is most like agape love when it is other-directed. Love does for the other what they really need. Okay. A lot of times we do things for the other that we think they really need. Now, there are other times where we do for the other what they want us to do for them. And so there's a whole lot of those times there's really no declension, I don't know a better word, between what I want and what I need, right? If I think I want it, then that equals I need it. That's our culture. If you want to put it on a thumbnail, that is American culture right there. If I want it, I need it. Okay. Love is not doing for the other person what they want. It's also not doing for the other person what I want to do for them. The phrase goes on, love is doing for the other person what they really need. In order to do that, there's this requirement. I've got to figure out what do they need. And then I do that. How do you figure that out? Well, some people are better at it intuitively than others, but all of us have to study the other person in order to discern what their greatest need is. One of the fabulous things about God's love is He knows everything there is to know about you. He virtually doesn't have to study. He already knows. And he does for us what we really need. We'll come back to that next time. I hope I get to connect with you again this way, then on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.